Hello again, my little fireflies, and welcome to the third episode of my Last of Us review series. My name is Dan Bennett. You are here on the Real Dan Bennett YouTube channel, and thank you for joining me. The first thing to talk about in this episode is that we go right into the credits. We've had a cold open of some sort in episodes 1 and 2, and in this one we decide, nope, let's get right to business. We link up with Joel and Ellie shortly after we saw them last, leaving the state building in Boston, and they are on their way to go see Bill. We come across Joel. He's sitting next to a river, and he's building a rock tower, sort of a memorial in honor of Tess. He goes back up, and Ellie's warming up under his jacket, which shows us that his caretaker mentality is sort of seeping in just a little bit. But they have a little bit of an exchange. Ellie calls him out for sort of subconsciously blaming her for what happened to Tess. He goes, okay, she's right. Let's get on track. So he sort of shakes that thought away. And that's sort of the first light being shined on this partnership between the two characters. They head to an old stash house that Joel's got, and he's looking for materials that he's hidden away, but it's been a while, he forgot. With all the smuggling he's been doing. Ellie wanders off like she is prone to do, and she finds this hidden hatch, goes down, and in there she comes across some essentials, but also a sort of half-developed clicker who has gotten trapped under some rocks. And so she goes over, and this guy's still got one eye that seems to be good. And she crouches down, and she's got her little knife, and she, out of curiosity, kind of slices his face up a little bit, and you get to see, again, the growth that is underneath this tissue that was once a human being and is now a monstrosity. Ultimately gives it sort of a mercy kill, which, as far as we know at this point, is kind of the first blood she's drawn. She climbs back up out of this pit. Joel doesn't know that she went down there. They grab what they need, and they head off. We come across a little bit more environmental. There's a crashed airplane up on a hill. Joel talks about the beginning of the pandemic. It's a solemn end to humanity, and it kind of brings down Ellie's vibe. Joel again tells her a little history lesson about Fedra and their response after the pandemic took off. And we close in on the skulls and the remains of an adult and a human, and then we jump back to 2003 one more time. We see the owner of the skulls, mother and child, as well as a bunch of other city residents being ushered into a truck. Then we see a man sitting in a dark room. He's got monitors, and he's got guns, and he's just watching security camera footage, or he's watching security cameras of the Fedra people loading everyone up, and they're in his house, and then they dip, and he goes outside, and he's alone. He's got this whole city to himself, and we finally get to see Bill for the first time. He jumps in his truck, and he starts going around, and he's collecting gasoline. He goes over to the abandoned Home Depot, and he starts getting supplies. The power goes out. Oh man, they cut off the grid. So he hustles to the power plant, turns the natural gas back on. He lights the stove. He preps a great dinner. He stops. He picked up some wine from the nearby winery. He's got it made, and we just see how things are developing. Well, he's at home, and a alarm goes off, letting him know that somebody fell into one of his pit traps that he developed. He goes out and he finds a gentleman in there who's a little dirty, a little worse for wear. He takes him back, and he lets him shower. He cooks him a nice meal. This man, who is Frank, alluded to in the game as Bill's partner, but we don't really get to meet Frank in the game, which is a dramatic difference from the show and the game. What they ultimately are going to do with this episode is an amazing variation on the original story. This was a beautiful way for them to stray away. They share a moment over the piano where Frank sits down and he starts playing a song, and Bill cuts him off because he's like, nope, you're not doing it any justice. So he goes, all right, well, show me how it's done. So Bill sits down and he starts tickling the ivories, and he performs a song by Linda Ronstadt, sings along, and Frank is He's touched. Frank turns to him, he says, "Who's the girl?" Bill says, "There is no girl." Frank leans in and he kisses Bill, and you start to see that, well, maybe there's something here. Ultimately, Frank says, "Hey, let's go have some sex." They crawl into bed together, and Frank lets his intentions be known. "Hey, if we do this, I'm going to stick around." And he does. We jump forward 3 years, and we see that they're still living together, still coexisting in this little town, this little burg. And Frank basically lays down the law of, hey, I'm here too. I need to do some things to make my life and our life better. And guess what? We're going to make some friends. And Bill about loses his mind. Breaks the news to him that he's been talking to somebody over the radio, and that he's going to invite them to the town. And what do you know? It's Joel and Tess. Tess and Joel come to dinner one day, and Bill, super sketched out by them, but they understand. They're vaguely sketchy. You can't really trust openly in this world, but hey, let's build a relationship here. Bill and Joel bond over their lack of trust of people. And Joel says, hey, you got some problems. Your fence is getting worn down. You're going to need some things, and I can help you with that. They head off, and we jump ahead another 3 years. We find Frank and Bill going for a jog. Bill, not having a great time. Frank says, hey, I want to show you something. He's gotten some strawberry seeds to plant and garden from Joel and Tess, our new friends. They each take one, tink, and they eat their strawberry, and it's probably their first strawberry in 10 years. And you just see this pleasure, this memory, so like wash over them. Bill gives this little giggle. It's a charming moment. The fact that even in this harsh, inhospitable world, you can find something to live for. You can find something to fight for. We cut to another night where raiders are attacking. Now, Joel gave Bill a warning. Bill said, we're going to be fine, don't worry about us. And now this comes to reality. Frank wakes up and he finds Bill shooting at the raiders, who are more or less being held off by the traps and the electrified fence. But unfortunately, Bill does take a bullet to the abdomen. So Frank gets him inside, and while Frank is trying to tend to him, Bill is being kind of doomsday-ish, and he says, you need to call Joel. Joel will take care of you. You can't be here alone. In his moment of potential death, he is only thinking about Frank. Fade to black. And then we fade back. And we've jumped another 10 years into the future, and they're both older now. They have seen better days, and it becomes very clear that Frank has fallen ill. Then the episode kind of turns into this very bittersweet, kind of Up-esque sequence. He tells Bill, hey, I can't do this anymore. Because he's been wheelchair bound. He's been taking drugs that Tess and Joel have been getting them. He'd rather go out on his own terms. We've had great days. We've had bad days, but I would love it to have one more good day with you. We're gonna go find some clothes at the boutique, and we're gonna get married today. And then I want you to cook me dinner, and I want you to take all my meds and put them in my wine, and I will drink them, and then we'll go to bed, and I will fall asleep in your arms. We watch each of these things take place, and it's super sweet. Bill pours the final wine, and they both drink it very fast. And Frank looks at him. He says, were there pills already in the wine? Bill tells him, mm-hmm. We get this wildly tender, wildly sweet episode, mini movie that shows how love, even in this dark world, can change you for the better. They go to bed, and we don't know the exact timeline, but they die. We fade to black. We come back up, and Joel and Ellie have arrived at the city. And they go to Bill's house, and the door's open, and Joel finds this suspicious because Bill is not a trusting individual. Ellie comes across an envelope on the table and she opens it, and inside is a truck key and a suicide note. When he comes back, Ellie starts reading the letter to him. It turns out that Bill has left Joel all of his weapons. He's left him full reign of the house because he doesn't need the stuff anymore. Use these weapons. Use what I'm giving you to protect Tess. Now, obviously, he doesn't know what's just transpired and what's happened to Tess, but the core of the message is take these gifts I'm giving you and find the purpose that I found through Frank. Because I didn't have anything to live for. I hated people, and I was happy when this happened, but then I found him. Do that. He's suffered another loss. Right now, all he's really got left in the world is Ellie and Tommy. He's got to find something to fight for, and he's got something right in front of him. They take this as an opportunity now to kind of refresh. They each take a shower, they change into clothes, and this is where we get to see Joel and Ellie fall into their game-accurate costumes. They now look verbatim like they did during this scene in the game. Ellie finds her first gun. We hit a few key lines of dialogue, and then we go into the garage where Joel has now charged up the battery of the truck. They get in the truck. Ellie is blown away by this vehicle because she's never really been in one. She doesn't even know what a seat belt is. Our heroes pull out of the garage. She finds a tape in the glove box, pops it in, and who else but Linda Ronstadt starts playing over the radio. And Joel goes, "Oh, this is a good one, leave it on." And we re-experience the same song that Bill and Frank played on the piano. And we are on the road to go find Tommy. The performances in this episode are breathtaking. Watching Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett bring these two characters to life, who we got limited exposure to. Frank, basically none at all in the game. And giving such a rich performance, making us love their love. And you go, man, what an odd couple, but it just works. It's a shame, on one hand, that one would assume we're not necessarily going to see either of those characters beyond this episode, because it seemed like it was pretty definitive. Could there be a flashback scene at some point? Maybe, but I think that would be a disservice. Based on the preview for the next episode, we're going to see some crazy stuff. So I'm hyped up for that, but I want to just loft a thank you to the showrunners for what they did with this episode, because while it's a wildly different approach to this chunk of the story and such a drastic variation from the source material, they executed it brilliantly, and man, they just keep hitting it. Just keep hitting it out of the park. Thank you guys for watching again. This is episode 3 of my Last of Us review series. Check out episodes 1 and 2. I'll try to link them here. And then feel free to give me a like and subscribe so you can follow along for episodes 4 and beyond. You're here on the RealDanBennett channel, and I hope you'll stick around. Check out some of the other stuff on my channel. Thank you guys for watching.